So the next chapter is useful means of attaining knowledge. ये कहते हैं कि कोई भी जो तालिब इल्म हो वो हमेशा इल्म की तलब में ही हो. You should seek all the times. देखो, as Muslims, you cannot shy away from it because you have two of God's written books which are unadulterated in front of you. One is Kalamullah, Quran. Another is this Kainat. The way God created it, it's in front of you. And both of these things, you might be able to avoid Quran for a while, but Kainat you cannot avoid. And keep your eyes open, your ears open. Let information enter it आपके सामने. Be a seeker at all times. And trust me, and I say it with all authority. Although there are only a few things I say with authority, which I'm firm believer in. जिस पे मेरा पूरा ईमान है, जितना आखिरत पे ईमान है वैसा ईमान, वो ये कि ज़िंदगी के बहुत बड़े राज, बहुत बड़ी जो इल्म की दुनिया है, अल्लाह गवाह किताबों से बाहर बहुत बड़ी दुनिया है. ये कहने का मतलब बिल्कुल नहीं कि किताबें डिग्रेड करनी है. नो, किताबों में बहुत नायाब इल्म है. अगर किताबों में इल्म ना होता तो अल्लाह ताला किताबों को चूज़ नहीं करते हम तक इल्म पहुँचाने के लिए. He chose that method. So obviously there is some wisdom in books, lot of wisdom in books. But interestingly, he always chose a carrier for the book. He could have sent a book from the heaven, it would have fallen, we would have taken it up. But what did he do? He let a human being carry it forward in a natural phenomena, and a person would speak to you. Here, what I was saying is, if you just ponder, and God calls about this pondering in Quran again and again. So if you do just that, if you have not read a million books, you might be wise. You might end up wiser than most of the people. In fact, at one place God says in Quran, you don't have, he says this in a negative sense, donkey laden with books. You don't have to be donkeys laden with books. Studying is good, studying is important, but part of studying is outside books as well. So if you're not carrying a book, you can still be a learner, because life teaches you lessons which might never be available in books. So understand that as well. Be like a sponge, and this world is water, and you soak as much as till you are saturated with it. You can ponder about things outside that are happening, and that would increase your knowledge in ways and means which are unthinkable. We know of countless people in the history, not just Muslims. Hindus can tell you this, Christians, Jews, Chinese, tribals, everyone, that people who had no formal education, and then they were considered the greatest of among the knowledgeable. One of our own in Kashmir, Sheikh Nuruddin Nurani Wali, if you would not trust his karama, but you can still read his shok, and you would find wisdom there, wisdom unparalleled, which people with 1,000 books on their shoulders would not have. Not that people who have read books have never turned out to be great. Many times they have, most of the times they have. But then there is wisdom outside books as well. Both of these things have to be carried forward. So what am I telling you is, in case you don't have a book with you, there is a book open there, the Kainat, so that you may see excellence, attain excellence. One way to attain knowledge is to have ink available to the seeker on every occasion, so that he can jot down whatever knowledge he hears. There are two things here. One, Allah Ta'ala made this easy for you. अब आपको इंक वगैरह कैरी करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. आपके फ़ोन्स में, टैबलेट्स में एक नोट्स का ऐप होता है. खुदा खुद से पूछे उसको कितना इस्तेमाल करते हैं आप, और देखें अपने नोट्स ऐप को. आपको एक तो हो गया बाहर का इल्म, कोई चीज़ आपको पता चले और आपने जल्दी लिख ली, आपका खुद का इल्म भी, you might come across a thought which might not come to you later, and the thought lives only in two ways. Either it has to be written, then it would live, or it has to be lived. That means you have to make it part of your living. So like speaking it to other people, or inculcating it in your character. These are the only ways in which a thought survives, otherwise it dies. So, for example, Islam survives because of this reason: perpetual adherence of Muslims, and that it's there in the books. So the thought of Islam is alive. Otherwise, it would have been gone. There would be tens and thousands of cultures gone. People did not practice them. They had no written literature gone. So a thought that comes into your mind, you were running, you were doing some kind of exercise, and a thought popped inside your mind, and you have been after this thought for like decade. Write it down, and God has made easy this thing for you by giving you phones. There's another element to it. If you remember, and many scholars say this as well, that when you attend lectures, do not take notes. There's a subtlety here. That how do you balance these two? Writing it down and not writing it down. And it's not very difficult to navigate between the two, because information needs to be jotted down. Nasiya need not. If you start to write down Nasiya, for example, a session like this, if you start to write it down, you're not going to learn it at all. It has to be listened to attentively. But the information, for example, we are studying economic development in India, GDP growth in last 4 quarters. This is what we are studying. There will be a lot of information that would be presented, and that needs to be written down, because that would escape. But Imam Zarnuji is in fact telling us here is not either of the two. He is telling us a third kind of thing, the wisdom of passerbys. There might be, say, for example, you're walking, or you come across a poster, so and so scholar is going to be here on 30th of July 2022, and you say it's today, and then you check the time is 2 p.m. and it's 2 p.m. So you go inside, and you get a chance to listen to him. It's better you have a pen and a copy with you. Might get a chance to meet someone. It's better you have that chance. It is said that he who simply tries to memorize what he has heard, the lesson would flee, but he who writes it down stands firm. तो ये information के बारे में, नसीहत के बारे में, it would not hold. So when you're receiving a moral lesson, stop penning it down. It's disrespectful. Don't do that. It's also said that knowledge is that which is taken from the lips of man. And this is very beautiful. ये जो सीना बस सीना इल्म लेना होता है, किताबों से इल्म लेना होता है, इसमें क्या डिफरेंस है? Which one is better? Now here is an argument which might satisfy many of you. Imam Zarnuji says that knowledge is that which is taken from the lips of man, from a teacher, not from books. Since they recall only the best of what they have heard, and they mention only the best of what they recall, it is super refined knowledge which they present when they speak. As-Sadr al-Shahid Husamuddin made the recommendation to his son Shamsuddin that he commit to memory a moderate amount of knowledge and wisdom every day. थोड़ा थोड़ा, और धीरे धीरे it would become a very big thing, और आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा. Isam ibn Yusuf purchased for himself a reed pen, एक पेन कलम, for 1 dinar, in order to immediately write down whatever matter he heard. For life is short and knowledge is extensive. It is necessary not to waste time or hours, but make use of nights as well as periods of retirement. पीरियड्स ऑफ रिटायरमेंट मतलब जब आप फारिग हो चीज़ों से, उनका इस्तेमाल करें इल्म के लिए. Yahya ibn Muad al-Razi is reported to have said, "Night is long, do not shorten it by sleeping. Day is brilliant, do not obscure it with your sins." Very important that you benefit from the learned men around you. I feel sad that we don't do it. Most of us don't. You know, when you find a learned man around you in any form whatsoever, might be in a bus, in a metro, in your university, college, clubhouse, YouTube, anywhere you encounter it, it's God sent chance to you to explore how they think, to explore how what their wisdom about things is. And no one was ever wrong by an advice, by seeking an advice. कभी किसी का नुकसान नहीं हुआ एडवाइस से. वो आपकी अमल है जो फिर आपका नुकसान कर देती है. एडवाइस लेने में कोई मसला नहीं है. Seek people's opinions if you think they're learned. Talk to them. There are millions of things that happen around you. One is your personal life. There are thousands of things that keep on happening in personal life. None of us is immune from that. Good and bad both. And then there are affairs at national or international level that keep on happening. There are ideological things that are said every day and you hear them. And millions of such things. You're not shielded from them. And then there happens to be a learned person with you. You should talk about those things with them. You should ask them those things. What do you think about this Imran Khan's ouster from Pakistan as the PM of Pakistan? You can ask them and hear their opinion. What do you say about this abortion thing that happened in US? Ask these people around you. Anything that's bothering you or anything that you're acquiring, talk to people who know. Talk to them. Listen to their opinions. And it's only going to benefit you. It's necessary that you benefit and acquire information from them. For it is not possible to attain what escapes. शेख अल इस्लाम जो उनके टीचर बुरहानुद्दीन है उनको कोट करते हैं फिर से. वो कहा करते थे, how many learned men have I come across without consulting them sufficiently. निचोड़ कर इल्म हासिल करना होता है उनसे, क्योंकि आपको नहीं पता कि कब वो नहीं हो, कब वो मौका आपके हाथ से चला जाए. And I state that this kind of missed opportunity is the fount of the verse. Alas for a meeting missed. Alas. Nothing that has passed by and vanished can be obtained ever again. So know that these moments, they're beautiful, they're important, they should be taken care of. And how do you take care of those things? By making the best use of those moments. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, if you are occupied with learning something, concentrate on it wholeheartedly. To withdraw from study of the knowledge of God is shameful and a big loss. So seek refuge in God from this distraction both night and day. It is essential for the student of knowledge to bear patiently with miseries and humiliation while seeking learning. जो भी मसाइल पेश आए, take them in, ignore them, and move on. Flattery is blameworthy except in the quest of knowledge. In order to attain information, flattery of the scholar and one's associates cannot be helped. अपने उस्ताद की तारीफ करना, अदरवाइज कहते हैं मना है ये सब चीज़ें, लेकिन इल्म में ये जायज़ है. It is said that knowledge is nobility without debasement, but one who reaches it no one reaches it except through debasement. कि इल्म क्या है? इल्म नोबिलिटी है, अपना 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 कैरेक्टर रिफाइन करना है, अपना सर ऊंचा करना है, अपनी इज्जत को आसमान पहुंचाना है, ये है इल्म हासिल करना. बट नो वन रीचेस इट विदाउट किसिंग द ग्राउंड. मतलब आप आसमान को सिर्फ और सिर्फ तब छू सकते हैं जमीन पे रहेंगे. Someone else has said, I see that you desire to ennoble your soul, but you will not attain nobility before you have humbled yourself. ये 10वां चैप्टर था. 11वां, Abstinence during the pursuit of learning. इन किन चीज़ों से बचना चाहिए. ये कहते हैं कि किसी ने कहा था हमसे, certain author, he who does not exert abstinence while learning, God the Almighty chastises him in one of the 3 ways. क्या करते हैं उनके साथ अल्लाह ताला? He deprives him of life in his youth. जवानी में ही वो दुनिया से रुखसत हो जाते हैं. Exiles him into far off regions. ये आपने देखा भी होगा अपनी ज़िंदगी में. जो अच्छे बच्चे होते हैं वो पास की यूनिवर्सिटी में एडमिशन लेते हैं, बाकियों को फिर जाना पड़ता है कहीं और. Exceptions are there, but you know by and large rule क्या है. The first choice is GMC Srinagar. You don't go to Batra on the very first day. The first choice is GMC Srinagar. So similarly, the first choice is IIT. You don't go to MET and Sharda University on the very first day. So the people who do not have this abstinence or the character, deprived life, or exiled into far off regions, or punishes him by forcing him to enter the service of the Sultan. सुल्तान की गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट बनाते हैं उसको. अल्लाह ताला इसको इल्म की कदर ना हो. जो who does not practice abstinence. The more abstinent a seeker of knowledge is, more useful his knowledge becomes. His knowledge becomes easier and acquisition of beneficial matters more expensive. But what is abstinence? Abstinence को आप easily समझ सकते हैं एहतियात करो, एहतियात करना. Abstinence is guarding against satiety from hunger, much sleep, abundant talk about useless matters. This is so important. इसकी ये जो ये useless gossip में indulge करते हैं ना हम, ये जहन्नम की तरफ रास्ता है. और कौन सा रास्ता? 6-laned, macadamized, without a pothole, and sloping down. There is no chance you will miss the goal. No chance whatsoever that you would miss the goal. तेल भी खत्म होगा तब भी the slope would take you there. The Prophet used to pray. One of his prayers is, they say, "Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." It's a big prayer. It's such a big thing, this Iblis, that I seek refuge with God against him. And same is the wording which the Prophet uses in this prayer, that I seek refuge from idle talk. The words he uses is knowledge which is not beneficial. I seek refuge with God against it. You can understand the gravity of what he thought. I'm not able to decipher the entire gravity, but I trust my Prophet. If he is making this prayer, it must have been a very important thing that he was hinting towards. And I can see in many ways how gossips, how these idle talks, one is in gossiping, you're backbiting, and you know how that is a highway to Jahannam. There are few more matters that happen. It blackens your heart, cold banata aapko, aapke dil ko. It shuts the doors open for good knowledge. It shuts the gossiping time is not remembering Allah time. All of these things. Gossiping time is this incorrect knowledge time. All of these things are associated with it. It is wastage of time, it's wastage of life. Because you spend, ये जो आप जी रहे होते हैं ना, जितने भी अल्लाह ताला ने आपकी ज़िंदगी में लिखे होंगे, it incurs a cost. And the cost is life itself. You're spending your life. That's why you call spending it. आप अपनी ज़िंदगी एक्चुअली खर्च कर रहे होते हैं. तो इसके बाद ये जो बात कहते हैं बड़ी खूबसूरत बात है, एंड समथिंग विच इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू प्रैक्टिस नाउ, बट I feel for it within my heart definitely. Be aware of eating food in marketplaces. Street food nahi hai hum. We were never a people of street food. This is something we have taken from elsewhere. While one can never be served in streets. Just can't we? We are not a people who have food on streets. Because food of the market is more apt to be impure and contaminated. ये इसको इस सेंस में कह रहे हैं, बट नो, जब आप आगे पढ़ेंगे ही इज एक्चुअली टॉकिंग अबाउट बोथ द सेंसेस. इन्होंने पहले आपके ज़ाहिरी इंस्टिंक्ट को सेशिएट करने की कोशिश की, देखो वो खाना साफ नहीं है इसलिए नहीं खाओ. बट ही देन टॉक्स अबाउट द बिगर इश्यूज. ईटिंग इन द मार्केट इज़ फर्दर रिमूव्ड फ्रॉम द कंटेम्पलेशन ऑफ गॉड. आपने कितनों को देखा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह जो हमदम खाने के बाद पढ़ते हैं, कितनों को देखा आपने गोलगप्पे खाने के बाद वो करें? नहीं हो पाता. कंटेम्पलेशन ऑफ गॉड, रिमेम्बरिंग गॉड इज फर्दर रिमूव्ड फ्रॉम स्ट्रीट फूड. जस्ट डजंट हैपन. तासीर ही नहीं है उसमें. वो हाथ साफ करना, वो सब तासीर नहीं है उसमें. जस्ट डजंट हैपन. यू डोंट फील लाइक डूइंग दैट. And closer to being heedless of God. This is what having food on streets is. I understand it's very difficult to do, but I kind of agree with him. I've felt it. When I started having food on streets early in my life, I could see how wrong it was. On the very face of it, मुझे वो अजीब लगता था कि क्या कर रहे हैं आप. But in this world, there's minuscule injections. तो आपको धीरे धीरे. But I think, alhamdulillah, my heart is still alive for it. If I am having food on street, it bothers me. It really bothers me a lot. I would always move away from the street. I'll have it at some place where I can sit. And then thank God for that. But then I understand it's very difficult. But not impossible. Why would I say it's very difficult? It's actually not very difficult. It's difficult in the sense that it has become part of culture to that level where you would be termed khushik if you don't do it, dry. But then it is possible to do it. You just have to avoid certain places, not every. And he says the eyes of the needy fall on the food in the marketplace. And it's not very easy to share your food with everyone. In that case, you would end up hungry. And while the needy are unable to purchase anything, and they look at the food you are having, as a result, they are further harmed. And the blessings of your food vanishes. And food is barakah. It's rizq from God. And if you're not able to receive barakah from it, you will only receive fats from it. It is related by Imam al-Jalil. I usually do not preach what I don't practice. And it's very difficult for me to say this because I do have food from streets, but I can tell you that I do feel it's not something we should be doing. And when I'm saying that I have food on streets, I don't mean it to the level to which our younger generation indulges in it. Not at all. I'm really talking about the level where you would say, okay, that's okay, एक बार try कर लिया. It's that, but even that bothers me. So yeah, it's related by Imam al-Jalil Muhammad ibn al-Fazl that when he was in the process of gaining knowledge, he would never eat food from the marketplace. कभी नहीं करते थे वैसा हो. And you would never see people of respect, people of culture doing it. You would never see them. There's a beautiful story. There was a person who had so much wealth that he was not able to take care of it. Uh, then he went to a sage and asked him, कि मैं क्या करूँ? I just want to. I have given away दौलत to everyone. गरीबी खत्म हो गई लेकिन मेरी दौलत खत्म नहीं हो रही, क्या करूँ? And the person told him, you know that roti we call बगर खानी, crispy होती है तो उसके chunks गिरते रहते हैं. So he asked him, do one thing, whenever you roam streets, take a bread, वही बगर खानी, and उसको रास्ते में खाते चलते जाओ. And sometime happened and he started getting poor, and he visited the peer and asked him that how is it possible, and then the peer responded, okay, you did not treat risk with respect and it was taken away from you. So it's not a story which has historical value, because modern mind has been uh, hardwired to think like that. There is no historical lesson in it. It's an anecdotal story for a moral lesson which your heart can tell you. इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा खुराफात करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Once before, however, his father prepared a meal for him. ये जो इमाम अल जलील मोहम्मद इब्न फजल, इनकी बात हो रही है. ये कभी नहीं खाते थे बाहर से. एक बार इनके वालिद साहब आए जुम्मा के दिन, घर से खाना बना के इनके यहाँ आए और वहाँ पे देखा रोटी का एक टुकड़ा जो घर का नहीं था. He refused to address his son because of his displeasure. Now this is something also which is frowned upon these days. पेरेंट्स का अपने बच्चों के साथ कैसा सलूक होना चाहिए. There's nothing wrong with scolding your children. There's nothing wrong with it. Never mind how much the naturalist psychologist would tell you. And they don't actually say it. Psychologists of merit, they would never tell you not to scold your children. But the street psychologist would tell you that. No, you don't do this. They're very fragile. Touch me not. Don't. You never scold your children. In fact, good psychologists, they will tell you, no, scold them. But there's a way of scolding. You support them as well. You develop a secure relationship with them. And within that relationship, it's okay to scold them. So, it's okay to do that. बच्चे हैं, छुई मुँह के पौधे नहीं हैं. तो you have to treat them with love, that's also true, but it's a life that God has placed in your hands, so you want to do your best. So once before, when his father came, so he would not even address him. So his son gave the excuse that I did not have it myself, it was actually my roommate. Always the roomie does it. So it's a friend of mine who brought it for himself. He ate it. I did not eat it. His father responded, had you been on guard, had you been self-restraining in matters like this, your friend would not have done it. So your friends are an index to your life as well. In this way were serious students abstinent, Imam Zarnuji says. Imam Zarnuji says it's as a result of this that they were successful in attaining knowledge and in spreading their learning far and wide, such that their names shall last until the day of resurrection. ये कहते हैं, a certain educated man among the learned ascetics admonished a student, saying, you must be on guard against slander and keeping company with the loquacious, the people who are talkative. इन दोनों से बचो, दोनों से दूर रहो. He further said, he who talks much robs you of your life. But how? How would one who talks much rob you of your life? Because you spend your life. जिंदगी एक खर्चा है. तो खर्चे को when you don't, जैसे पैसा खर्च ही करना है और क्या करोगे, ऐसी जिंदगी खर्च होनी है. तो व्हाट इज वेस्टिंग ऑफ मनी? जब आप उसको ऐसी चीज पे खर्च करते हो जिस पे नहीं करना चाहिए था। जब उसको ज़रूरियात ज़िंदगी पे खर्च करते हैं तो इट्स अ गुड थिंग, इट शुड बी डन। सेम विद people who talk much. You're spending your time on something frivolous, something you should avoid. In being abstinent, therefore, one must avoid associating with corrupt people, sinful people. You know, part of the problem when you talk about the economics of corruption, and no one talks about it in this particular way. The supply of corruption is dependent upon the demand of corruption. When we make friends with these corrupt people, when we make friends with these sinful people, it kind of shows them it's okay to be the way they are. And then when you treat them the way they should be, that's justice, and you would see wonders happening in your society. And those who are negligent of their religious duties. The word used is negligent. It's very profound that he has used this word because it has two connotations. One is not doing it, religious obligations को पूरा न करना, negligence में वो भी आता है. But negligence is also an aspect of attitude. Taking these things as trifle. कौन सी बड़ी बात है. Recently ईद गुजरी और लोगों ने कुर्बानी की, and then people, for example, हमको हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने एक तरीका बताया कुर्बानी का. हम दफन करते हैं खून, छोटे छोटे चीज़ें जो which we do not eat, which come out of the body, but we do not eat them. हम उनको दफन करते हैं या उनको नदी में फेंकते हैं. जानवर की हड्डियां तक हम दफन करते हैं. दिस इज़ आवर एटिकेट. You don't let the blood pass into the sewer drains. You don't let that happen, and that's why you get criticized. Because then when Dhaka का वो मशहूर इंसिडेंट, फिर बारिश हुई, वाटर लॉगिंग हुई, and entire Dhaka was red, and the world was talking because you did not follow the prophetic sunnah. You do not kill one animal in front of another. The Prophet directed us. You don't do that. And these are things which are not impossible to do. Because शुक्र अल्लाह का हम कुर्बानी करते हैं, हम ये सारी चीज़ें करते हैं. And what does that show? The people who do it, they're serious about it. The people who don't do it, they are performing their activity, but they're negligent about it. So that's what I wanted to tell you, that negligence covers both the aspects. One, not doing the thing, and second, doing it, but with negligence. लापरवाही के साथ. लापरवाह लोगों से दूर रहे. क्यों रहे दूर? Proximity leaves its traces. लोहे को मैग्नेट के साथ रखोगे, मैग्नेटाइज हो जाएगा. So associate yourself with righteous. Furthermore, one should sit facing Makkah and be an adherent of the exemplary way of the Prophet. So when you study, when you seek knowledge, you try your best that you're facing Makkah. See, it's not possible every time. And Imam Zarnuji does talk about that as well. Okay. Sometimes it's not possible. And that's okay when it's not possible. But your first choice, facing Makkah. It is necessary in the quest of learning not to neglect etiquette in the practice of the Prophet. Now here's a very important thing he talks about. अदब तो हम जितनी बात करें कम है, लेकिन इसको सुने अब ध्यान से. ये क्या कहते हैं? For whosoever is negligent of the etiquette is likewise deprived of practice of Prophet. जिसमें अदब नहीं होगा वो सुन्नह प्रैक्टिस नहीं कर पाएगा. जो प्रैक्टिस ऑफ प्रॉफिट नहीं कर पाता प्रैक्टिस, ही इज डिप्राइव्ड ऑफ फर्ज. वो फर्ज भी प्रैक्टिस नहीं कर पाता. जो फर्ज नहीं प्रैक्टिस कर पाता उसकी डेस्टिनेशन जहन्नम है. Now here you would realize the importance of culture. अदब आप सीखते कहाँ से? एटिकेट कहाँ से सीखते हैं? अदब इज सोशल साइंस. सोशल साइंस को उर्दू में अदब बोलते हैं ना. So this is what you learn through your culture. So the people who neglect their culture, they neglect the sunnah of the Prophet. They neglect the sunnah of the Prophet, they neglect the farz of the deen. They neglect the farz of the deen, they end up in wherever they end up in the hereafter. So adab to sunnah to farz to hereafter. And adab is culturally inculcated. It is essential that one engage in prayer. Kyun? Because prayer brings humility. So you should perform your prayers with humility, and that would help you in acquisition of knowledge. एक poem को recite quote करते हैं. Be observant of command and prohibitions, and be assiduous and observant of the prayer. Be diligent and procure help through good deeds. So procure help. How do you procure help? You procure help by good deeds. Be obedient and work diligently, and do not ever become lazy. Thus will you return to your Lord. Only little of the night do they lay down. It's important that one carry with him a book under any circumstances in order to read it. It is said that he who does not have book in his sleeve, wisdom shall not be firmly established in his heart. अगर आपके साथ किताब नहीं है, आपके दिल में इल्म नहीं है, तो कहते हैं हमेशा अपने साथ किताब रखें. और ये कहते हैं कि ज़रूरी है कि उसमें कुछ ब्लैंक पेजेस हो और आपके पास कलम भी हो, सो दैट आप लिखें. अब फ़ोन्स के आने के बाद ये काम आसान हो गया, बिकॉज यू कैन रीड फ्रॉम योर फ़ोन एज वेल. बट देन फ़ोन डिस्ट्रैक्ट भी करता है, और उसमें फ़ोन का तासीर नहीं है इल्म का. तासीर बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है. बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं फ़ोन से पढ़ नहीं पाते क्योंकि फ़ोन में वो तासीर नहीं है जो किताब में है. दे डिस्ट्रैक्ट. एंड दूसरा, फ़ोन्स डिबेस यू. लेकिन हम सबको पता है कि फ़ोन में टिकटकी लगा कर देखने वाले गाड़ी में ये किसके साथ एसोसिएटेड होता है, जो फ़ोन पे ही लगे होते हैं. हम सबको पता है कि कौन सी इमेज बिल्ड करता है. You never let that image form of you. Take a book instead. But it's not a hard and fast rule. You can take your phone as well. But वही बात है फिर से तासीर की. किताब में एक अलग तासीर है. अगर आप किताब को पढ़ लेंगे एक सीरियसनेस आएगी आपके कैरेक्टर में. फ़ोन में वो नहीं आएगी. बट काफ़ी सारों के लिए फ़ोन वर्क्स.